Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo! Today on episode 304, I'm very lucky, privileged to have Andrew Croasdale on the podcast. He is a ex-counterterrorism chief officer, and now he is the founder and, owner, man in charge of Octopus Leadership. How are you today, sir?
I'm fantastic, thank you. It's good to meet you. It's good to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. I'm glad to have you here. You, sir, you, 30 years in the police. What does that do to a person?
Makes you grow grey hair.
Uh-huh. Well, yes.
Yeah, no, it's happened in a flash. I can still remember very clearly taking what was called a 3-day assessment in those days, back in 1989, 90, I think it was. You went to the training school and you were put through all sorts of exercises, situations, medicals. You were turned upside down, shaken around, and let's see what this individual's got to offer. And by good fortune, I got through at the age of 19, and was so pleased.
Mhm.
It's been an ambition of mine for probably the previous 10 years. So yeah, to think that's been and gone 3 decades is yeah, quite incredible, really.
Yeah, I'm curious, like if you can take your mind back in that brief segment of time. What did you have a conception of what it would be like being a police officer to what it was like actually being a police officer?
Yeah, well, my the reason I've set up my company now goes all the way back to that kind of 10-year-old boy that was a victim of crime.
Hmm.
And um, I woke up one I think it was one weekend morning, and I came downstairs, went to see what was my fairly new first grown-up bike at the age of 10 or 11, and it was gone, and I just couldn't quite believe it. And then parents came downstairs, they were devastated, contacted the police. That's my first experience of the police and what they do and how they help you, and the fact that you don't need to pay them any money. They come because the state provides that service. And it was just a huge shock that there were evil people in the world that would walk into your home, which is a very precious and private place,
Hmm.
and take something that didn't belong to them. Really, really shocked me. Uh, so then the contrasting kindness, empathy, leadership, strength to stand up to evil from the police was just incredible. Really profoundly impacted by that. So the police that came along actually were not only brilliant, but recovered my bike, found it, found where it was and who had done it, got the bike back to me. They even brought me a book on what it's like being in the police. And I remember treasuring this book, and it had a picture of a police officer on the front, and there was like a fingerprint kind of effect to the the effect on the front of the book. And
Yeah.
I just treasured this. And from then on, that's all I wanted to do was be in the police. And I remember a couple of family friends had their own businesses, and they'd say, "Oh, come and work for me, Andrew. You're a good guy, and I think you should come and work for me." And I just can't move away from this idea of being a police officer. Even my parents tried to dissuade me because I was such a shy kid, that they said, "I'm not sure it's the right career for you." Um, but there was something inside me that wanted to. I think it was a drive to help people and to be that person that was able to step in that sort of situation. I found
Hmm.
that immensely kind of rewarding. The fact that there are people that do this to kind of, I suppose, stand in between evil and good and do the right thing. So it was yeah, a strong passion that I could not be persuaded out of. So at the age of, I didn't go to university. I went and did A levels,
Hmm.
finished those, went to work for a bank because the police had said, look, you will not get in at the age of 18 and a half, which is the minimum age. You just need some life experience. you're dealing with all sorts of difficult things and life issues. You need life experience. I said, fine, okay, joined the NatWest Bank then. A lot of friends had done that. It was okay, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. And then I think it was a cancellation that came up, and they said, right, we've got this cancellation. You can come along to this 3-day assessment where we look at all sorts of aspects, your kind of written work, your problem solving. You go through medicals, you go through fitness tests. We interview you, we probe the way that you think, how you deal with stress. And I went through that 3 days with maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 others. And got through, which I was surprised at. I think less than half got through that assessment process. And I'd actually even been caught speeding shortly before. And would you believe it? They brought it up. They brought it up. They said to me in the interview. So Andrew, we, it's good to see you here, and it's good to talk to you. Have you ever been involved with the police at all before? And I thought, what are they fishing for? What are they fishing for? So I said, what do you mean? I said, well, just a straight question. Have you ever been involved with the police before? And I thought, this is a test of truth.
Yes.
So I said, well, I have actually been caught speeding. I didn't think they would know about something so trivial. I said, I've actually been caught speeding. And they said, yes. And they read out the speed that it was and the zone that it was. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I told the truth.
Wait, were you sweating at that point, I imagine?
I was sweating. I was sweating. I thought, oh my God, this is all going to come undone because of this. But I'd thought about it beforehand. I said to them, look, it's a mistake I made. I've reflected on it. I don't intend to do it again. And I'm sorry for what happened. And they just said, great. And they moved on immediately. So it was a little test of, does he tell the truth? Has he reflected upon it? And what's his attitude towards it? And I think I demonstrated the sort of integrity and the kind of personality that they're looking for to be dealing with the most kind of traumatic and sensitive things that you deal with in the police. So, yeah, the sweating was not good, but was put behind me and thankfully successfully.
Yeah, because this is the thing. Before we started this, you described yourself as an introvert. Now, if you're an introvert, police, you're going to be asked, called upon, demanded upon by much of society to step in to some quite hair-raising experiences. So this is the thing. Would you say you're more not a crusader, but justice, that sort of moral compass of right, it overweighs everything for you, even your being an introvert?
Yeah, I think you've probably nailed it there, really. I think the police naturally attracts probably more confident people who are very, very sort of strong in their demeanor. They're not shy. They are quite happy to walk into all manner of situations. For me, I think it was driven by a powerful sense of fairness, and fairness is about, we have laws in the country to protect us, so we can go about our lives without being interrupted by abuse or people breaking into our houses or crime. And the fact is that there is evil out there, and unless we can, and the police is a hot topic at the moment, and it probably always is, but it is very much so at the moment. You need really, really good people who have got the strength to stand up to evil, but have got the softer skills to empathize and look after victims and see it through their eyes. And that takes a certain type of character. And I think for me, yes, it was the sense of justice, the ability to be somebody that could help people in their hour of need, to be that person that they could turn to. And even now, doing my coaching, people say, you are so supportive. You know, I always feel better when I've finished speaking to you, because I think I've got the ability to empathize, but not just empathize, but to give them some good advice around steps moving forward that make them feel, actually, there is a way out of this. It's a dark place I'm in now, but there is a way out. And I think, yeah, I think you probably summed it up quite nicely. That sort of sense of justice, right and wrong. Someone's got to stand up to the evil, and that's what drove me. Yeah.
It must be like, this is the thing. Like, unfortunately, the world is not like a TV show or a film where after like 60 minutes or 90 minutes or 3 hours, the evildoers like come, like they come, justice comes for them in some form of way. In my, like, one of my favorite films, Denzel Washington, Man on Fire, like with like
yeah,
where let's just say with a devastating grenade or two, and I'll leave it at that. But when, like, there must have been times where you could not provide that sort of sense of justice, or, like, you know what I mean, that sort of realm of fairness. Like, how did you manage to sort of like deal with that? Because there is obviously the victim side of whatever crime goes on, but how, as an officer, did you manage to sort of like, deal with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, that is that is, I think, something that probably keeps a lot of police officers awake at night. So in this country, we have a very high standard of the burden of proof upon the state. So we've got to prove beyond all reasonable doubt, and it's a very, very high standard to prove, to convict somebody. So it was designed to make sure that the innocent didn't get convicted. But the result is that it actually protects a lot of the guilty, particularly, again, when you layer on legal aid that is provided by the taxpayer. And actually, one of my frustrations is that the legal aid that might keep that burglar out of prison, because they use their skills as a lawyer to spot perhaps a minor deviation from process, then exploit and use to get them off. These kind of activities take place. And what that means is that they have got actually a direct financial interest in keeping prolific criminals out of jail. Whilst ever they are getting arrested and are committing a crime, and they are calling the same solicitors, they are coming into the police station, representing them, and getting paid well from the taxpayer. So it's a frustration. It's a frustration for cops up and down the country. And you're right, you then look into the eyes of the victims and you feel a huge sense of responsibility to do the right thing by them. And I've been to Crown Court many, 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 many times, and you are trying your best all the time to keep the case on track. But guess what? Witnesses don't want to go to court. Who would want to go to court? They don't get paid to go to court. To be stood in a courtroom in that intimidating environment, being asked questions by barristers, stood there being looked at by the jury, time away from work, time away from their family. And it's not something that people want to do. So you've got, as a cop, to try and persuade them of why it is the right thing to do it. And that's difficult. You are trying to keep the case on track. You're trying to do your best to build an evidential case against the person that you believe has committed the crime, because the evidence that you've seen. You sometimes will have intelligence, which is information that tells you certain things about the individual. You will know their previous convictions, and you will know that they've got a lifestyle that maybe commits that type of crime. So you're convinced inside. You know that they are highly likely to be guilty, but you've got to prove that. You've got to prove that case. And intelligence generally doesn't come into the courtroom. So you feel that sense of responsibility. But, as with most public services, you are stretched and you are on the limit all the time to offer a premium service to everything that you've got to try and do. And there is a risk that sometimes it's difficult to convict them, and sometimes you can't convict them either because their lawyers managed to just sow one little seed that presents a level of doubt, and that's it. It's a much higher bar, as I say, for the prosecution side than it is for the defence side. And then if they're not convicted, then you do feel very, what we call the officer in the case, the lead officer that will take that case from investigation through to court. You do feel a very deep sense of responsibility to everybody in the country to try and curtail the evil, but also, and particularly so to the victim, who has been through something traumatic, and they need this sense of justice that the person that's done this is dealt with, and it's difficult. It is very, very difficult, and it's a funny thing because, and I say funny meaning strange rather than funny. Officers take that responsibility home with them every day, every night. It's in their dreams and nightmares, and they hold that with them all the time. And they're working in a system that, like I say, like many public services, there isn't enough resources to offer a premium service. Yet you work in an environment where only a premium service is good enough. And that gap is taken on the shoulders of the individual rather than the organisation, I feel, in many ways.
Because like if many an officer is carrying this with them, and like basically like that sort of that nagging like sort of ache of not basically like, yeah, for whatever reason that case didn't come through, maybe down to like, yeah, something the lawyer like brought up, maybe it's somewhere a police officer like messed up, a myriad of different reasons come along the way. Like, how do officers like handle that kind of burden? How do they sort of defuse that sort of ticking time bomb, I would imagine, of pressure and built up emotion?
Yeah, well, I think unfortunately, you are just expected to take it on the chin. There's not a lot of support available. You are just expected to be that resilient. The kind of language that would be used is like, it's tough in the police. It's a tough job. Not everybody gets through selection process. You need to be tough. You need to expect to take these things on the chin, and you need to just deal with it, regroup, put a smile on your face, go back to work the next day, and look after the next victim. But I think, that, as you say, it is a ticking time bomb. I think more officers left the forces last year than joined. I think, for the working conditions, it's not that, and I don't want to make this podcast about beating the police up because I think it's a fantastic organisation. I really do. Business benefits from the police and a healthy society. Citizens obviously benefit from, and we have got an extremely civilized and democratic society. But I do think I do have a personal view that the police could do better. But I think it's a conversation for the government, senior leaders, police officers, the public. It's got to have that proper conversation to say, where are we good, where are we not so good, how do we close that gap?
Yeah.
Because to answer your question, I do think it's just down to, sorry, get on with it, put a smile on your face, be brave, and be ready for the next.
Because like this is the thing. The reason why I'm asking you these questions, because one, you've been like 3 decades in the police force. Like, yeah, basically, what things were like in the 80s, which was late 80s, to the 90s to the early 2010s to present day, it's quite extremely society is extremely different to where it was then. I'm just kind of wondering if the police has evolved, and so it has. Let's just say, if you look at the Metropolitan Police in London, there have been a couple of dark incidences which have come up recently, which but has it evolved? Has it got better along the time? Or is it just as you just said, grin and bear it? And I think that was most probably the mantra was preached to you for most of your career, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think policing has evolved. And I honestly do believe that 99% of police officers from the ground through to middle management, right up to chief constables, they join because they want to help people. They believe in trying to curtail evil and protect innocent people to be able to enjoy their lives. And it's as simple as that. That is the mission: protect the public from harm. But it becomes very complicated. You know, the amount of money that you get into the police to deal with what you've got to do. You think of COVID, for example. Suddenly, the police that are struggling to deal with everything that's coming across their desk as it is are expected then to police COVID because they are the police and it comes to them. Suddenly, there's a huge expectation on the police to do that. And then guess what? They're expected to do something that, you know, decent members of the public may stray into areas that they shouldn't have done, or be out of the house longer than they should have done. And the neighbours are ringing up. Well, the rules have been set down. Somebody's reported something. You've got to enforce the rules. That then damages the police reputation because they think, well, that's overzealous policing. That's not necessary, is it? So the police are kind of buffeted from left and right. And as austerity come along, things like mental health beds might reduce in number, all sorts of other services. When they start to dry up their resources and they can do less, their problems roll down the hill and land in the police lake. So that then we are the kind of, you know, the service of last resort. When people don't know who to call, they call the police. So I think the police are put under additional pressure where when I first joined, it was a very reactive force. A crime happened, we turned up, we tried to make people feel better, we gathered the evidence, we tried to find out who'd done it, we moved forward. But then it just got bigger and bigger. Police very much moved into the proactive space, and that was what I spent most of my time doing, which is why I now kind of investigate companies to look for their missing potential. But it's very much the police moved into the how can we get ahead of the curve? Who's committing the crimes? Why are they committing the crimes? Is it a medical problem? Is it drugs that's driving it? Is it the domestic situation? And how can we then try and get ahead of the curve, get into that situation and try and unpick that cause and try and stop it, try and help it with our partners. Thus, kind of partnership working was born in probably the mid to late 90s.
Okay. So I have to ask this, when you left the police force, now 30 years of service, 30 years of doing certain things a certain way, has it been an easy transition for you? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, it's a really funny psychological thing because the police is difficult. There's all sorts of pressures and expectations. You are constantly trying to do the right thing, but it's a kind of it's a knife edge all the time. And you know, if anything goes wrong, then the media will be on it straight away. And by going wrong, I mean you weren't able to protect somebody. And you live with that level of scrutiny all the time. So what happens is the police become very risk averse. They try and do as much as they can to stop that happening, but of course it's extremely expensive and resource intensive to try and do that. So because of that stress and pressure, a bit like the army, you can leave after whatever it is, 7 years, 21 years, whatever. At 30 years, you can leave the police. And I think many people kind of quite look forward to that day because the pressure cooker suddenly gets released and you're out of this pressure cooker. It's something you look forward to. And I did. But strangely, maybe not so strange, when I left, within a space of weeks, there was something big missing for me. I'd gone from being a chief inspector at counter-terrorism policing headquarters to being Andrew, who set up a new company, and that's it. And I had a team, and every week we would speak. We would because it was a national role. The team would be all over the country, so we would speak via Zoom. But every week you would be speaking to them, you'd be supporting them, you'd be finding out how's things for you and like at home, how's things for your career, what's going on for you, what responsibilities have you got this week, what did you achieve last week, anything that you're struggling with where I can help. And you play a paternal role. All supervisors play a paternal role in whatever they're doing. To suddenly have that team taken away and the big pieces of work that you were emotionally involved in, driving those big changes forward. I was kind of a chief inspector, like a middle manager, but I was driving some quite big changes forward and trying to negotiate with like the Department of Education and NHS and all these kind of big bodies, trying to move things forward to make the public safer. And I could see what to do. I'm very good strategically at seeing what needs to be done and trying to make it happen. But there's all sorts of hidden agendas going on that are stopping you. And suddenly when that's all taken away from you, you feel this, I didn't expect it, but you feel this massive loss of big things that you were affecting, your brain, your experiences, your vision that were improving. You've not got that anymore. The team that you were helping that relied on your support, suddenly you've not got that anymore. And I felt really quite lost for definitely a few weeks. So the business has been really good for me to start getting back into helping people, solving problems, looking at the strategic challenges for them, helping them on a personal level, deal with things. Sometimes I may just spend 2 hours coaching them around what's going on in their head and their headspace. They may be really stressed. And I think, well, there's no point in me going through the next step in our program if their head is not ready for it. So I kind of revert to, you might say the police officer, empathetic, helping, supporting, how can we move forward? So yeah, a shock at first.
No, I always find it interesting because like this is the thing, anyone who is in a service, they have like one of the things regular everyday people don't always have is a purpose. They will go from left to right, bouncing around, going through their life, happy as Larry, but not totally fulfilled.
Yeah.
People who generally are in the services, they have purpose inflicted on them. There is no other way of putting it. It's inflicted on it. This is what you have to do in service of the community in a greater sense. If it's a soldier, your purpose is to defend and serve this country overseas and make sure you do a good job of it. If you're a fireman, ambulance, police officer, yes, it's in service of the public. And especially if you're doing something like counter-terrorism, that is like, yeah, if it goes all south, if it goes all wrong, let's just say, who knows where it could lead? Manchester, potentially, 7-7, and that's a greater effect. When that's taken away, purpose removed, that is, I would say, the hardest thing, especially when you have like a group of people where you have a joint purpose, like moving forward, because I think that's one of the sort of things I think Like, no, not I think, I see when it comes to basically anyone who has been in any one of the services, because that's removed from them, they all of a sudden, like, it's very difficult to go into that realm of let me
Yeah,
bounce around just like, yeah, everyday person, because it ain't easy and it ain't good because you don't know where it's going to lead you. And I think with regards to what you're doing now with your business, I think that's given you that some of that sort of purpose back to you.
yeah. Well, I mean, you're right, absolutely. That the police is a very strong, noble cause. You don't get any more commission, bonuses, sports tickets, company car, private healthcare. There's none of that. So
Mm,
you learn as a leader to really drive the noble cause that we are about, doing the right thing, supporting individuals, recognizing good work. And it's a really good grounding school for how to get the best out of people. And
mm,
so that's the key thing that over many years, you because I reflect and think, how can I be even better next year? How can I be even better next year? I learned lots, and I realized that it's not just the confident brash types that can make a difference. Some of the quieter people, if you engage with them and you understand who they are and you understand what's going on for them and what skills they've got, you can lift them up to make a big difference. But if you just write them off as quieter, they're not as confident and brash as some of the others, then you won't get the best out of them. So, so what I've done is I've put all my learning over this 26 years and developed a kind of methodology for how you get the best out of people. And I'm now helping business owners with that. And interestingly, as you've spoken about purpose, one of the key steps is about the identity of the business,
mm,
because business can be a force for good. And I think customers are looking for authenticity. And if you're looking to buy something from somebody, and if somebody's got an authentic backstory and an authentic reason for why they exist beyond making money, that really resonates, and people feel much more comfortable with that. So, for example, a kitchens and bathrooms company that I've worked with, I worked with them and described around, you're not just selling kitchens and bathrooms. What you're actually selling is well-being. Because you imagine if you have a nice new kitchen that's very functional, maybe have a nice little island, and you then have friends round or you eat dinner with your family and you enjoy that space much more. What happens? You just feel good. You have happier times. Your well-being increases. So actually, it's not really about the hardware that contributes to it, but the ultimate outcome is well-being. You feel better. You walk in from work and you think, whoa, fantastic kitchen. So that's a big part of my work now is really talking through what business are you really in? Not just what business are you in, what business are you really in?
mm,
And some clients, they find that stage quite difficult at times, but we work together, we persevere through it, and this reflect, often that is one of the biggest things that's improved their business. And actually, I don't do it for customers. I do it to inspire the team, because I think unless you provide an inspiring environment and a purpose, people just become functional. They turn up to work, they do what they have to do, and they go home at 4 o'clock. Whereas if you create a far more meaningful purpose, mission, who do we serve, why do we serve them, what's it all about, how can we measure that, and how can we reflect that back to the team and give them feedback, it becomes far more inspirational, and they enjoy work, they go home proud, they talk to their friends about it, and that is when you get the best out of people.
mm. You know what? I think you need to, like, if you sat, do you know Simon Sinek by any chance?
I've heard of him.
Yes. Basically, what's the book called? Basically, finding the reason why. And you're tuning into basically a lot of that. That, that with given like finding like I always describe why in a number of ways. It can't like you've got your fuzzy why, which you have to push and like go, yeah, okay, I'm gonna run 5 miles each and every single day. Okay, when was the last time you ran? 10 years ago. Okay, right. Are you committed to it? I sure am. Fuzzy why? It's right, like a 5 level down why, where it's like gravity pulling like you. It's like going, yeah, I've got to run 5 miles today. Why? Because I've got a marathon I need to run. Or yeah, I've got like this health condition. I need to do this. This is the reason why I'm doing it. I want to basically, yeah, improve my health so I can see my kids grow old and like grow old, be at their weddings and all of that. And I've like, yes, you're getting them to that true why, that 5 level down why, because yes, a kitchen, and I think many a company would like go, yes, a kitchen, yes, it's got this great island, and yes, it's got like these ovens, and it's got this gas cooker, but it wouldn't be like, yes, it's the functionality, but it's not what the why, the sort of like, yeah, that little special extra sauce you
Yeah.
found with other companies. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, for me, that's what drives people. You've got to tap into their emotions and drive their emotions. You need to know, the kind of example I often quote is the phone rings at 5 to 4. They're due to go home at 4 o'clock. Now, somebody would say, well, hang on a minute, that could be a load of grief, that could be an unhappy customer. I've almost got my coat and I'm just going to ignore it. The boss isn't there. What's going to make them answer it and help that customer? Because that customer needs some help there and then. They've got something bothering them that's making them ring now. So they want an answer. And we deliver 5-star service by making sure that call gets answered and they get their solution. So how do we then make our people want to answer that phone? So we've got to talk about, what does 5-star service look like? What does it mean? Why is it valued? What are we about as a company? How do we make sure that all our people deliver this? So again, another thing I go through is monthly meetings with each of the staff where it's one-on-one, pure, purely about them. What's going on for you at home? What are you enjoying about your job? What are you not enjoying about your job? Where's your career going? Is it with us? Is it with somewhere else? What can we do to support you? What training do you need? What are you finding difficult? I really like what this you've done. This is the data that we've got that says you're doing these things right. These are the things that maybe we want you to work harder on. And again, the feedback is another game changer. People feel listened to. They can offer ideas. They're coming up with good business solutions. And they feel really there's an emotional bond created with the business owner or the leader, because they really care about them. They really understand what's expected of them. So when that phone rings at 5 to 4, it gets answered. The customer's happy. The customer gives a 5-star review. The customer talks to their friends and says, this company are absolutely brilliant. They are on it. And then the big push is about competing on value. There's no need to go anywhere else because I can't beat the service that I've had from this company. So it's taking the noble cause of the police, the really noble mission that it's about, and injecting that same sense of emotion and what's the right thing to do into private business.
Now, speaking of private business, like now, the sort of buying into this sort of philosophy, this mindset, like, have you found there has been kind of a greater resistance in the UK market? Because like what you're saying, it sounds like something not, it sounds like something which is like very sort of big corporate American type vibe feel. It would
Really?
like, yeah, no, in some regards. That's like it's one of those things where you're like, oh yes, this, that, making like making your employees feel valued. It's one of those things where I think it's the needle is shifting here in the UK slowly but surely, but I think it's a long way from being like, yes, this is the be all and end all, you know?
Yeah.
What have you found with regards to like going out there in the market?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm kind of only a year into doing this stuff, but I found probably surprise at some of my my thinking. You can only do what you think is right, can't you? And I'm unloading what I think is the right thing to do. I'm finding a little bit of surprise about the way that I suggest business is done. But what was really surprising is bumped into a guy that I'd helped recently, and he said, "You know what, Andrew?" He said, "I am the happiest I have ever been in business." And that was like probably the best compliment you could ever expect. It made me feel fantastic. And he said, "But I'm not just happy with the way business is running, the team are just loving it." And I do think that what might feel a little bit unusual at first, when you get your head into it, it's just about doing the right thing. It's just about doing the right thing and not becoming functional and just going through the motions, but understanding what is it that we are doing for who and how do we improve people's lives. And one of my sort of philosophies is, I suppose, is that teams are the engines of the world. And the more we can focus those teams and inspire them to be the best they can be, the more we can improve the lives of the people that they serve. So actually, teams represent such a huge possibility to massively have an impact, positive impact in the world. And what that requires then is ethical leadership that's prepared to just be more people focused and think about how can they serve their people in the best way they can by inspiring the best from their teams. And that sometimes means being tough on somebody that's got poor work ethic, finding out what's going on, what can we do to help you to raise that. And if you're not prepared to put the effort in, then you're not right for us. And we need to part company because you don't share our values. And for others that are working hard, we recognize what they are doing and we reward that and we thank them for it and we give private praise and we give public praise. But we end up with, an inspirational company that people think, I love working here. And it's not just about, I honestly don't believe that it's just about money for people. I think people need that emotional feedback that says you improved somebody's life today because you did X, or I saw the way that you did that, or we've had this review that's come in, and I know that's largely down to the work that you've done. So we're really grateful. That feedback loop is, I think, so critical. And I know that because that's one of the few tools that I had to use as a leader in the police. And you don't have commission bonuses, as I said, or any kind of monetary incentives. You've got to rely on people doing the right thing and being recognised for doing the right thing and looking after them.
Interesting. Yeah, because I agree with you with regards to teams make the world a difference in our society as a whole, in businesses as well. It's just one of those things which always kind of surprises me. Everyone knows this to be true, but when it comes to their own sort of personal life, they don't actually implement that sort of practice. They kind of go out there by themselves or keep themselves isolated. It is one of those things which is quite perplexing. And when they do sort of come back into a sort of team setting, they will sometimes just leave it at the door, or it just affects them in quite a negative way. And not being able to get that out there can be difficult at times. So with that, is there times where you sort of go into a business or a company where there is something fundamentally sick within and you're trying to find that root of that cause?
Yeah, so I do I suppose a mixture of coaching, but also where I've got a specific program that teaches business owners or leaders how to embed a particular operational system that I've developed called the Octopus operating system. And that's an end-to-end program that will help them have more time, run the team with ease, improve performance, increase profit sales, increase profit margin. But then I also do some consulting work, which is more bespoke to a specific problem. So an example might be going into a company that are not getting repeat bookings, or they are getting poor or a number of poor reviews. And so my job then is to go in and have a good look around and put my detective head back on and have a good nosy around and see what's really going on. And often that is the front line are somehow disconnected from the importance of customer service. They're just treating the job as we go here, functional. There's no kind of good bedside manner in the way that they treat the member of the public that they are serving. Maybe the systems that might have, or the process that might have sold the particular product or service to a customer wasn't quite transparent enough in all aspects. And so then there's a bit of a surprise further down the line. And ultimately it comes down to, there's something missing in the leadership. You've got a real wry smile on your face. What's going on?
No, stop using your police body language reading. No, it's just questions coming into my head. And yes, I'm just because this is the thing. Sort of jumping out of that, I'm just curious, when you stopped being a police officer and you were starting up a business for yourself, what was some of the greater challenges for you? Because look, you are about leadership, you're about finding that why, all of the sort of positive things that many a company needs. But I'm just I'm just curious, as before, what were some of the misconceptions you had before you became a police officer? What were some of the misconceptions you had before you became a business owner?
Good question. I think business these days is very much reliant on social media and how you can find the people that you can help, that you are a good fit for, and they're a good fit for you in a busy world that's possibly busier because of social media, because we can now serve the world very easily, rather than, we all go to the local butchers, we all go to the local this, the local that. Now the world is a smaller place. So you've got to engage with social media, which, it's not my thing. It's not something I'm experienced at, but it's something you have to accept and engage with it. So, that means obviously jumping on LinkedIn and Facebook and conducting podcasts with only the most eminent hosts.
Yes, I can. Thank you.
That's all new to me. That's all new to me, is that aspect. All I want to do is crack on, find people that need helping, get them there, do what needs to be done, see a happy smiling faces from the impact that I've been able to have with them, and keep doing that. But you've got to spend, unfortunately, some time with the marketing aspects, unless you've got lots of money you can throw at companies to do this for you. Certainly when you're starting out, then you need to do it yourself, and that's probably the biggest challenge, I'd say. You're just desperate to get on and help people, but of course they don't know you. You're at arm's length, and they need to trust you, and they need to understand, can they trust you, and they need to recognize what you offer. How can it help them? It's funny, actually. One of my very first client, when I said to him, okay, so what do you think of your team? How do you assess your team? He said, oh, they're brilliant. 8, 9 out of 10 I'd give them. Absolutely fantastic. And yet we found so much within his company that we could improve. It's just like, he says, it's just like a different place. And that's that's really strange, because in his bubble, everything was pretty good. But then I've come along with new ideas and fresh thinking, and he's like, oh, I never even knew about this kind of stuff. And your ways of dealing with difficult situations, you provided leadership options, or the appraisals, the way that you've taught me to do those, I was very much just focused on me and the bottom line and how we could support that. Yours is far more about them and how can we help them. So yeah, marketing is the challenge.
Marketing's the challenge. Yes, I think if you told anyone in the realms of that business society, oh yeah, what's one of the key skills to have? Marketing. Marketing, I would say, would be almost at the top of the list, as well as sales. If you can't market, if you can't sell, ooh, you're gonna find it tricky out there. Tricky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, can I ask, how long did it take you to get your first client?
Well, I said to myself that I was going to have some months off to just come down, I suppose. I had a few big projects on the house that I wanted to do, but I think I probably made my first pitch for a sale within maybe a couple of months of leaving the police, and it was a really inadvertent situation. I'd gone into a bathroom showroom to buy some tiles, and I just really liked the showroom. It was absolutely spot on.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that came to help me, I said, "Oh, I've just come to see what sort of tiles you might have to buy, and I love the showroom actually." And he said, "Oh, that's really kind of you to say that." I said, "Actually, I'm the business owner." And I said, "Oh, great. Well, tell you what," I said, "I've just set up a business to help small and medium business owners and leaders. Do you fancy a conversation?" And he kind of looked at me like, "Oh, hang on a minute, what's this?" Anyway, we ended up in a couple of conversations, and he tells me now that he did a little bit of digging on me in the background, and he said, "Yeah, let's go for it." So I was just buying some tiles and seized the moment to say, "Look, maybe I can help you." And he was a little bit skeptical at first, but as we talked and he started to understand me and what I'm about and what's important to me and what my values are, it was quite curious. And he heard a few of my successes in the police, and he said, "Do you know what? I might just go for this." So we did, and it's been absolutely fantastic. Really, really fantastic. We worked together for 12 months. He's seen, I think we're almost at triple net profit. And he puts it down to my coaching and leadership support. As I say, the identity is a big part. Some of the leadership aspects, the team are more motivated and happy. Customers are happy. We've talked about niching into a bit more of a specific customer and then understanding what their wants are and then providing for their wants. So yeah, I absolutely love it. And to see my values from the police taken across into the commercial world and to see that success, not just on the bottom line, but in people's genuine happiness, it couldn't have been a happier first customer. I feel very, very lucky and very proud, I suppose.
I have to ask, Andrew, are you truly an introvert, or have you been lying to me?
No,
Come on now.
no. If you speak to anybody that knows me, I mean, if I go back to when I was a kid of maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7, I remember my parents would have friends that would come round, and me and my sister would be upstairs, and they'd say, "Oh, Andrew, just come to the top of the stairs and say hello to John and Pat." And I was petrified, absolutely petrified. Didn't even want to look at them. And then, of course, the police knocks it out of you. You have to step forward. You have to deal with situations. You have to be the leader, even as a police constable.
Mm.
So that shakes it out of you. But I'm married to a super sociable woman, and if you stand me next to her, you'll see that I'm the quiet one, not maybe the most sociable, and she's like on a different level. So yeah, I suppose it depends who you compare me to now. But the police and 30 years experience and being nearly 53, I think moves you into a different place. But I think at heart that introvert's still there.
I see. I see. Ah, the introvert's still there. I like at the top of the stairs, I'm sure. Now, I have to ask. Now, with this being a new venture, what would you like to get out of it over the next few years? Where would you like to go?
Yeah, so I think my big vision, the big thing that I want to support, I think, is around probably developing a community of ethical leaders that know and understand and believe in supporting and inspiring their team to be the best they can be. And that doesn't mean beasting them to work really, really hard so that you know, they sweat and they work hard. It means lighting people up inside, that you recognize what they've got to offer and you help them to deliver the best of their skills, abilities, emotions to the mission that the business has.
Mm.
So that ultimately, then their customers are delighted, and because the customers are delighted, then they come back and they spread word of mouth. So for me, it's about the impact I think I can have on the world is through supporting leaders to really focus on their people and help them being the best they can be. Um, and I developed something called the the business triangle sweet spot. And what I say to prospects and people I speak to is that you've got the customer at one point, you've got the business owner at another, and you've got the team at the other. And if your business is operating too much to one side, where the customers are happy and the team are happy, maybe the business owner isn't receiving a price that sustains his business, or maybe the team are having a good time doing just enough for the customer, but the business is just not sustainable there. On the other side of the triangle, the customers and the business owners are really happy, but maybe the team are being worked really, really hard and not paid very much and not being recognised for the effort they make. That's not sustainable either. And at the bottom end of the triangle, you've got the business owner and the team are really happy, but they're just not putting the effort in to create delighted customers. So that's not sustainable either, because customers are not going to give good reviews, they're not going to give good word of mouth, and they're going to go elsewhere. So it's only by recognizing that and finding that sweet spot in the middle of that triangle where all three parties are happy. And I do believe that that is the place from the way I've described earlier. That is the way to do business. And so that's the kind of big mission for me, is how can we persuade more leaders to make sure that business triangle sweet spot is being achieved by looking after the team, inspiring the best, and delivering outstanding 5-star service every time.
I see. Do you have, like, say, a number goal, like you'll have X amount of, say, business leaders like signed up, or is it just a case of, yeah, whoever joins uh this community you want to build over the course of time, that is who's going to be in your community?
Yeah, no specific numbers as yet. The first year really was about rolling this idea and this concept and my values and mission and vision out, seeing who picks it up, working, gaining experience. I'm as I say, I'm nearly 53 and I've done 3 decades in policing, but I'm the first to put my hand up and say, I'm starting a new career and I've got lots to learn. I've got lots of value to give, but I'm more than happy to accept that there is lots that I need to learn. So I don't believe putting any numbers or anything is useful at the moment. I just need to keep on with this traction, keep on selling this vision and mission, helping more and more people, and then just seeing how it develops and where it takes me. But I'm enjoying every minute of it so far. It's hugely rewarding. It's somebody told me that you could get all manner of jobs once you leave the police, but maybe a better way is to put your foot on the ball and think about what really, really fulfills you. What do you really, really enjoy and would never want to retire from, because it really delights you, and that is what I'm doing now. So it's a different course to take, but it's definitely the right one for me.
Right, I see. I sense a bit of public speaking might be coming up in your future, no doubt.
Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah, I mean, again, I've been encouraged to maybe do some public speaking, and I probably will. But it's not top of the list for things I would choose to do. I like working hard, but I like working hard in the shadows. I think I'm somebody that would be. My wife would be on the front of the stage, being in the spotlight, and I would be probably in the wings, making it all come together silently.
Hey, like, come on now, like, Batman like works in the shadows, but he worked best when he like stepped out into the light with the Justice League, let's just say. Mm. So, uh, I have to say, like, with all of this going on, like, yeah, starting your new business, like leaving the police, starting your new business, everything like this, like, what do you now do just to like go, yeah, you know what, this is my downtime. I need to relax, kick back. What is the thing? What is your moment of chill, Andrew? What is your moment of chill?
Good question. I play a little golf. Um, I I I read a few business books. That's probably still related to business, but I'm really hungry to find out more in this new world. I've got two young teens. I'm a very dedicated father. I always said they will be number one, and they are. And I'd go to everything that they've been involved in from a young age to kind of football and dancing and tennis and cricket now. And I love, being on the sidelines watching and supporting them. That probably gives me a huge buzz, just seeing them smile, seeing them grow, seeing them enjoy life, and knowing that dad is always there and is always watching and supporting. That probably is a big part of my relaxing away from work.
Yeah, because like this is the thing.
Skiing as well. Love skiing. Just
Uh,
been twice this year, in fact, and that is, I don't know why I would even forget that. The mountains. I am a big fan of the mountains. Oh, we've just been to Pila and Cormea in Italy this year, and if anybody has not tried skiing that's listening, I would recommend it. Some people have not been skiing say, "Oh, it's cold. It's cold. Why would you do that?" But it's just the most exhilarating experience. You literally feel like you're on top of the world. It's just breathtaking.
yeah.
Any listeners that have not been skiing, you must go skiing. Make it a commitment. Bucket list.
Love it, love it. Because like this is the thing, like, okay, 30 years in the police force, you like, especially when you started, and I know this to be true because I got a couple of friends who are in the police force, who just missed out on that sort of final salary pension stage, which I think you're definitely in that realm. You could have just been like, kick back, relax, and that'll be it. But you never strike me as a person which is that just sitting on your laurels would be your thing. I don't think.
No, no. I mean, I think to put something into perspective,
Mm.
um, cops pay a lot towards their pension. I paid 15% extra tax for 30 years. That's a lot of money. And then you do get a good pension. This was built on the principle that by the time you're 50, you're too old to run around and chase after criminals. So you need to be on your way. So the idea is, we force you to pay an extra 15% tax, but then we kind of give you a pension. So you're right. Yes, there is a pension there that gives you some financial stability. But as I said to you before, I found something missing within a short space of time of leaving. And I always intended to have a go at my own business. And I think it's that most professional people, most people that have worked most of their lives, yes, you can maybe do some traveling and relax, but there's something really important about still feeling that you are needed in the world, that you offer something to the world, you can make a difference that is important. and that's definitely something that I knew I had to get that professional fulfillment, or I wouldn't have been happy. It's funny. One of the first things that I do with clients is go through a life business harmony wheel, and it looks at friends and family, professional self-esteem, health and well-being, and I ask them to give each of these slices of the pie a score, and to be honest, and they don't need to share it with me if they don't want, but the purpose behind it is just to benchmark where they are, so that when they're making future big business decisions, they can reflect on their personal life and the harmony with it. So, for example, if somebody was not seeing much of the wife, not seeing much of the young kids, and that really was upsetting them, then maybe setting up another branch of their business that might make them some more money, maybe that might not be the right decision. And I think, having seen friends go for promotion just because that's what you do, I feel a responsibility to just ensure people know what they're doing when they are making big decisions in their businesses, reflecting on the impact on other aspects of their lives, and making sure it's a more coherent decision, more holistic decision, rather than just more money, more money, more money, bigger, bigger, better. So, yeah.
Right. So what is your score?
Oh, I've not done it on myself. I probably should, shouldn't I?
Hey, come on now.
Yeah, well, certainly the professional self-esteem area probably dropped quite significantly after the police. Didn't expect it to. I thought, great, all this free time, fantastic. And then, even though I was playing golf, I was building a patio, I was building a decking, I was meeting up with friends, seeing my parents, there was something like, there's just something missing. There's something missing here, and that was it. And so when the business started to take off, that kind of got that barometer back up to where it needed to be for me.
See, he didn't tell me your score, but still, yeah. Okay, yeah, no worries. He needs to do that test on himself for sure. But yeah, now I have to say, now all things considered, now if you had to do certain things all over again, what would there be one sort of key thing you would change, or would you be happy with this, like the course of everything's taking place right now?
That's such a big question, isn't it? In many ways, I think, was the police the right calling for me? At times, because the working conditions, the stress, the pressure, the kind of people that you have to deal with is very difficult, very dark, and there's not a lot of thanks out there. I don't think the public or the government really understand how difficult it is, how complex it is. And actually, it's one of my passions. Is I would love to do something to maybe develop a series of videos that really help the public understand, that were freely available on YouTube, that would help the public understand exactly what it's like to deal with various situations. So, for example, speeding, most people will talk about speeding as if it's something that the police shouldn't be involved in, as if it's just raising money. And there may be an aspect to that goes on, but I'm not sure the police get any of the money. But the bottom line is that speeding, I think, from the academics, speeding is the greatest factor that kills people. So you imagine if you're the chief constable, and you are, so the area I live in North Yorkshire, it's got one of the highest sort of road death rates, because it's very rural. It's got a lot of sort of motorbikes and fast roads, and the chief constable is under a responsibility to do something about it. They've got to reduce this. That's their job, is to protect the public from from harm. So they've got to then go about a speeding strategy that tries to tackle that. But all the public will really see is just, oh, I've been pulled over and I've been given this fine, and we need to make that argument. It's our responsibility, well, not my responsibility more, but the police have got to be more transparent, and I think, and tell the public what they do and why they do it. The why is not coming through, I don't think. And I think that would be a really healthy way to step forward in policing. So yeah, there's lots of things that I would change, but equally, I am who I am because of the police, and I've got lots of things I can be proud of that I did. People that went to prison because of the case that I built, the ideas that I had to find the evidence. There were a couple of robbers I remember fairly early on in my CID career that we didn't. This was a new thing, but I kind of thought, well, hang on a minute, there's some cigarette butts on the floor. If I collect those cigarette butts, is there a chance that DNA might be able to pick up who that is? Probably not, but I'll do it anyway. I ended up identifying who they were, and I think one of them got 6 years in prison. The other one got life because it was an armed robbery and because of what they'd done in the past. So you could so easily have not picked up those cigarette butts and not thought that was relevant. And certainly at that time, it wasn't a big thing. So I feel I can be proud of what I've done. And I met my wife in the police, so I wouldn't have met her probably if I'd not been in the police. So life takes its turns left and right, doesn't it? And I don't have any regrets. I've gone from being a shy kid to probably somebody a bit more middle of the road. Probably got the police to thank for that. Done some good in the police. It's taught me a lot, and actually, it's probably given me the tools and the experiences from which to be able to help people and do what I really enjoy.
Yeah. Outstanding. Love it. And I have no more questions for you, sir. But I've got to just simply say, hey, thank you for coming on the podcast today. You have been brilliant, a delight, a pleasure to have on the show today. Can you tell the lovely people how they can find you out there on these interwebs?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is probably the platform I use the most. So Andrew Croasdale, spelled Croasdale. I've also developed actually a business diagnosis tool, which you can put the link in probably the show notes, I would imagine. It's a free tool for business owners, 16 yes/no questions to answer. And what it will do is give them some insights into how they might be able to improve the performance of their team and grow their business by delighting customers. So provide that for free. LinkedIn, probably the best way. My website is www.octopusleadership.com.
Perfect.
In fact, let me just tell you the story before we finish of the octopus. You never asked about the octopus, which is, I was telling somebody about this the other day, and they said, that is such an interesting little story. The reason I called my business Octopus Leadership is because the octopus is one of the cleverest creatures in the world, because it's got 9 brains, 1 master brain, and 1 for each of its tentacles. And that allows the master brain, i.e. the business owner, to allow its team to operate semi-autonomously and get on and deal with the day-to-day business of moving, fighting, finding food, leaving the main brain to think strategically and do what it needs to do. So that is the analogy that I help business to achieve. Be strategic and allow your team through my Octopus operating system to be able to conduct the business without needing the oversight and intervention of the owner.
Yeah, the only reason why I didn't bring this up, because you were talking about good and evil, and yes, octopus is the symbol of Spectre from James Bond. So, so I was like, okay, do I bring it up or don't I? It's like, yeah. So if I see like a distinguished gentleman running through it in a tux, I know that there's something going on. If there's a big white cat what all of a sudden leaps up, I know there's something going on. Yes. As I say, I will put all of this information in the notes, and yes, bar any sort of secret spy organizations coming into play, you'll be able to like find Andrew out there. Yes, thank you once again for coming on today, sir. It's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to speak to you as well and meet you. So thank you. It's been nice.
Outstanding. I'd like to say thank you to you, my friends, my life warriors, for coming, watching the show, sticking with us to the end. Please stay well, stay safe, be awesome, be excellent, be fantastic. Be all the positive bees you can be in this world and then some. And remember, keep moving forward. Watch yourself, Mr. Bond. And we are